You know that feeling, right? You get into a car, the music starts, and it just sounds incredible. The bass is perfect, the vocals are crystal clear, you feel like you're right there in a private concert. And your first thought is probably, wow, this car must have some killer speakers. But here's the thing, the brand you see on the speaker grill, that's only half the story. There's an unseen expert working behind the scenes, a kind of digital genius, tuning that sound to perfection. And it's changing everything about how we listen to music on the road. For decades, if you wanted better sound in your car, the answer was always the same: more hardware. You throw in more speakers, maybe a bigger amp, all of which added cost and, believe it or not, a lot of weight. But now, there's a much smarter way to do it. The new school of thought is all about using advanced software to make the hardware you already have sound absolutely phenomenal. It's a huge shift from brute force to digital intelligence, and it saves weight, complexity, and, yep, money. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dive into why cars are such a tricky place for audio. Then we'll meet the software expert who's solving this problem, see how their magic actually works, track their journey into more than 100 million cars, and finally, look at what this all means for the future of sound. Okay, so let's start with the big problem. A car cabin is, to be honest, an acoustic nightmare. I mean, think about it. You're in this little box surrounded by a weird mix of hard, reflective stuff like glass and soft, sound-absorbing stuff like your seats. And the speakers, they're just crammed in wherever they can fit, down by your feet, in the doors, on the dashboard. It creates this messy, unbalanced sound that audio engineers really have to wrestle with to get it right. And that's because the biggest jump in audio quality we're seeing today isn't coming from fancier speaker materials. It's coming from code. Smart software is really the secret ingredient that can take a totally standard set of speakers and make them sound like a truly premium system. So who is this invisible genius? Let's pull back the curtain and meet the company making it all happen, Arkamys. A good way to think of them is like the Intel Inside for your car's audio. You probably won't see their name anywhere, but their software is the brain that's making the whole system sing. So Arkamys was founded way back in 1998 over in Paris by a group of acoustic researchers and actual composers. You know, people who really live and breathe sound. For over 2 decades now, their mission has been super clear: deliver the absolute best sound experience possible using clever software, not just by adding more and more expensive hardware. Okay, so how does this magic actually work? Well, the best analogy is photo editing, but for sound. You know how your phone's camera is pretty good on its own, but it's the software processing that makes that final picture look amazing? Arkamys does the exact same thing for audio, correcting and enhancing the sound before it even gets to your speakers. The core technology here is something called audio signal processing. Now that's a fancy term, but it really just means digitally tinkering with sound. The Arkamys software takes that raw audio signal and uses all these complex algorithms to fix the problems caused by the car's weird acoustics, making the sound that comes out clear, balanced, and way more immersive. Their process really boils down to 3 key steps. First, they digitally map everything about a car's interior, every surface, every material. Then, their special software algorithms get to work, correcting for all those flaws. And finally, a team of highly trained audio experts, they call them their golden ears, do the final tuning, creating a unique sound that is tailor-made for that specific car model. So their main technology is called Soundstage, and it fixes a really common problem. You know, when the music sounds like it's coming from down by your ankles, Soundstage digitally lifts and widens that sound, creating this amazing illusion that you're listening to a band on a stage right there on top of your dashboard. It's a total game changer. Next up is their road noise management, and this is just brilliant. It actually uses the car's existing speakers to actively cancel out the drone of road and tire noise. So not only does your music sound way clearer without you having to crank the volume, but the whole cabin just feels quieter and more relaxing, especially on long trips. And they're not just thinking about music. They're also integrating this tech with the car's safety systems. With 3D sound alerts, if your car detects a hazard on your left, you'll actually hear the warning chime coming from that exact direction. It's a super intuitive way to use sound to make you more aware of what's around you. Okay, so the technology is obviously impressive, but does anyone actually use it? Well, this is where the story gets really, really compelling. The proof of their success isn't hiding in some lab. It's out on the road, in millions and millions and millions of cars. Their history shows this just constant pace of innovation. They patented their core tech way back in '98, then really proved themselves in the super demanding Japanese car market in 2010. And they're still pushing forward with a new patent for automatic tuning just last year. It all just fueled this incredible growth. And what a scale! By 2025, over 100 million vehicles around the world will have Arkamys software inside. That is just a staggering number. In fact, there's a really good chance you've already listened to their work and didn't even know it. And they got to this massive scale by building this huge global ecosystem. I mean, they're working directly with giants like Renault, Stellantis, and Hyundai Kia. They're partnering with high-end audio companies like Focal, and their software runs on chips from all the major players. They're just deeply, deeply woven into the fabric of the auto industry. So this all leads to a really fascinating conclusion about where in-car tech is headed. In this new era of software-defined vehicles, it's becoming pretty clear that the code is just as important, maybe even more important than the hardware itself. You could say that software is the new speaker. And hey, this isn't just some theory. Check out this quote from a recent announcement about their partnership with chipmaker MediaTek. The key phrase right there is flexible software-defined audio features. That is exactly where the entire industry is going, and Arkamys is leading the charge. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, it fundamentally changes how we should think about car audio. In the very near future, improving your car's sound might not mean a trip to a workshop to rip out speakers. It could be as simple as downloading a software update, just like you do on your phone. And that leaves us with one last kinda wild thought. What possibilities open up when your car's sound system is no longer a fixed piece of hardware, but a dynamic software platform? Imagine getting new audio features or better sound quality delivered over the air years after you bought the car. That's the future that companies like Arkamys are building for us right now.